Hello viewers, my name is Videlis Njoki and this is my sign name. Welcome to the Voice Show where we share different stories and its aim is to open and touch and also impact other people. So the Voice Show gives everyone the opportunity to voice out what they have. So we want to ensure that our story is heard, voiced, and also it's to educate and to create awareness outside here, because so many people, they don't know what to do to solve different things. That's why we have the Voice Show. So before I continue, please follow the full episodes on YouTube, on Science TV, and also on our screens every Friday at 8 p.m. and we have a repeat on Sunday at 8 p.m. And today we have a guest. So let's the guest introduce himself. Hello, kindly introduce yourself and tell us something about yourself.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity to be here. First, my name is Vincent Odhiambo, and that is my sign name. But my friend also calls me single father. It's been a long story. I have a son. I don't co-parent. I only care my son by myself. I live here in Nairobi and I work in Nairobi. I focus for advocacy and accessibility for children for education. Yes.
Wow. Single father muko wapi? There's a guy here who is representing you. So our viewers, before we continue with the interview, I want you to tell us more about your work. You've said that you are a trained teacher. So I'm sure the viewers are shocked that you are a teacher and you are deaf. You are a trained teacher and you can teach. So is it that you are just a trained teacher, you studied, then after your graduation, you stayed at home, or what next after your graduation?
Thank you. I studied at KU, Kenyatta University, special need education, and I trained and now I teach deaf, but I haven't started teaching deaf. I've focused on other avenues, creating accessibility to education material to deaf children. Getting material, it is very important for the deaf children to have accessible to the material. And also achieving the language, because they have been very delayed in accessing the language, and also the technology is growing, and also we need the deaf children to grow with the technology. We have partners in Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, and all of them are focusing on creating awareness and creating education accessible to deaf children. In future, probably when I retire, probably I'll go back and teach in class, but for now, let us focus on this.
Viewers, as you've heard, his focus, yes, he's a trained teacher, but he's focusing more on technology. And when you hear about technology, you wonder, the digital accessibility, does it mean that it's going to open more doors for people, deaf people? So What do you mean by digital accessibility materials?
First, you know the world is changing really fast. The traditional and modern technology, it is very different. It is digital era now because things are changing. Also, education is transforming to digital. Now, for example, when a child is accessing material in online and everything is online, for the hearing children is very easy. For the TV, but for the deaf children, it is really a struggle. As we integrate technology to the society and transform the education system for the deaf children, that is why we do advocacy, so that you can benefit and access material.
Okay. You've said something very important about the hearing children, that it's very easy for them to access. Does it mean it's making the two worlds to be different? The deaf community and the hearing community are two different worlds. So what's the difference between the two? What makes the difference between the hearing world and the deaf world in digital accessibility?
Now, many people make digital things. They make and design them and plan, and then they forget about the deaf people. They make for the benefit of the hearing people, because the deaf people, they don't know how to benefit from them. Making the deaf children to learn and follow, it becomes very difficult, so that the deaf children are left behind, and accessing that and for their development, when everything is developed, that's why they remember that, oh, we have some deaf learners. So that is where the gap increases. I think as we continue with digital and design, let us put into consideration we have people in disability, so that we can integrate and move forward together. I think it is not happening easily, but with years and being concerned and being conscious with people with disability, it will achieve. We have different perspective and we have different people.
That's why we always say that people with disability are always left behind, as you've seen and heard from him. But here at the Voice Show, our aim is to include all people and to be in the same level. And we want to make sure that we have a normal life as persons without disability, so that we are not left behind as always. So, kindly, Vincent, can you tell us how different communities, different stakeholders, and different institutions make digital accessible and friendly to the deaf people, and also to the hearing world? Because sometimes you can find that a person who is deaf wants to compete with a person who is not deaf. But one thing, when you raise a child who is deaf, they don't live in the same world. So kindly tell us how to make the world the better for both of them.
Thank you. I support my idea, because deaf people live in, they don't live in their own world, but they live in people. We need to make it very inclusive for everyone. You see, many people make and create ideas for deaf, for disabled, which the disabled people, they are not there included to make their own decision and to give contribution to their own ideas and opinions. Making, for example, when you see TV, you see their adverts, they only talk and but they forget the deaf people, because for me as a customer, I cannot buy it because there is no access to that information. It's only designed for the hearing people. I think for us to do everything together, we must be inclusive of people with disability and bring our opinions to the table and to see that, because the journey has been long. Before, many people ignored the disabled. They were like, it is not needed. Some people decide for the deaf, for the disabled people, but for now, creating awareness and bringing our ideas on the table, it will help us to integrate us in the society and reduce discrimination. Yes, everyone has their own right, and everyone has their own preferences. If I prefer something and which is not aligned to your preferences, then you don't have to coerce someone to be aligned with your ideas. But when we sit down on the table together and discuss and negotiate and bring our ideas on the table and see how it can benefit the both of us, the hearing and the deaf people in the world.
People always say that each person knows where their shoe is pinching. So, if my shoe is not enough on my side, so many of the times this is what I do. I know where is wrong. When people say that these people can, meaning that persons with disability can not decide on their own. So this is to show you that persons with disability can make their own decision, and they can also contribute in different matters. So let's all try as much as possible to represent ourselves. Right, Vincent? So you said in the future, for example, 10 years, so in the next 10 years, how can we view the world when it comes to the people who are deaf and also the hearing world? What will be the difference?
Probably for 10 years, I see the society treating the disabled people and making their ideas stand out and having a lot of innovation, because disabled people have a lot of innovation. They think themselves, for example, myself, I wasn't born deaf, I was born hearing. And about 7 years, my father was a pastor. So many people in the society thought a pastor is a big person, and he wasn't access to problems. But now in their homestead they have a son who's deaf, a son pastor who's deaf. That was a shock. That probably made my mother and our family to break. When they preach, the village people thought being a deaf person is a curse. But for now, a son from a pastor having a curse, how could that happen? Now we live in the same ideology of, oh, deafness is a curse. Maybe this is a mental problem, and the development is really gradual. Now, I think for the next 10 years, we need to demystify that and remove that ideology and create awareness that people with disability can really live, and being a deaf is not a curse. And becoming a deaf at 7 years, it wasn't a curse. Up to now, I've always seen my father bothering me, and also being aware that my son is not a cursed person, but he's a normal person. But he's all. That is a story for another time. But now, let us focus on technology and digital development in the future years. So people have now different perspective. For example, for an engineer in the and building roads and building buildings, they forget people with disability who are using wheelchair. So when we include all the stakeholders in all these interpreters in and forgetting the statements, we need to, yeah, and people with disability can create for themselves, and to let us remove the ideology of disability being a curse. And look at us. We are working good for the maybe for the next 10 years. That will be a blessing.
Wow. Let's have a short break, but soon we are coming back with more. Welcome back, and let's continue with our inspiring story of a single father. You remember I told you that we have a single father who is representing all the single fathers who are watching this show. And the single father in the room, he has full support system from the people behind the camera. So anyway, let's continue with the interesting story of single father. Before, you talked about technology, how you're working to ensure that technology is accessible to persons with disability, especially the deaf community. So I want to understand one thing. You talked about in the next 10 years that the world of the deaf and the hearing are going to be on the same level. So, and you also talked about you are a single father. So how are you balancing between single father life and working in Nairobi and staying in Nairobi? So, let me hear your answer.
Okay. Where? Nairobi. It's our own town. Living in Nairobi, it is challenging. Many people are complaining, both hearing and all disability. The jam, if you hear about being mugged and how the life is very expensive, I think it's my 8th year in Nairobi. I studied Nairobi University of Kenyatta, and also I'm really hustling here in Nairobi. This is what I hate about Nairobi. Traveling is very slow, and makangas are very loud. If you ask is how much, it's 50. When you enter, they change. I told you it's 50 bob, but the jam for Nairobi, it's really, but we are managing. We are managing life, balancing work and balancing life and managing family. It's somehow difficult, but we really strike the balance and time and find time for it. There is time for work Monday to Friday, and then going back to my family. And how is my son managing his education and managing everything? It's challenging, but and also transport from work and to and fro. It's a great challenge, and we also fear about we also fear hearing people always say fear Nairobi, fear Nairobi. One day my mother told me to all my family members, all of them fear Nairobi because it's always about negative, mugging, stealing, killing, and many things. Nairobi, it's a changed environment. We must do whatever we must to do. In Romans, they say when you come to Rome, do whatever Romans do. When you go back to and live your life. If you find people who are very wakora around here, you assimilate with them. You look for the good role model and remove others, and we'll manage. They'll see they have moral good, and let us express ourselves, and that is how we are managing in Nairobi.
Wow. As you've heard, The streets of Nairobi, you must be clever, you must act smart. And if you are not smart, Kanairo will teach you a good and perfect lesson in a good way. So Vincent has said that his family, brothers and sisters are really wondering how he's surviving in Nairobi and how he's balancing work and life. So as we've heard, he said that when you go to Rome, you behave as the Romans behave. So if the Romans way change, you are not supposed to stay the same as before. You are supposed to change. So if you meet con people, then you live as the con way. So Vincent has really explained it very clearly. Those are not my words. Sometimes I wonder, and I know you seated there and also you're wondering. This man Vincent has complained and has said that Kanairo ni makelele tu. Who told you that being a deaf, you are not going to hear people shouting? No, hold on kidogo. I want to, now you've gotten the answer for yourself. So you think that we live in a silent world? Hapana. You've said something about our father and family. So tell us more about your family being a single father. I'm wondering, you say that you have a family, and previously you've told us that you are a single family. And I know the viewers heard it clearly. So you've heard he told us that he's a single father, and right now he's telling he has a family. So kindly tell us more about that.
Okay. Before I told you, many people call me single father. Single father, how did this name come through? When I was in university, I have a son. I had a son. And my son don't live with her mother. I have cared for her for 1 year alone, and it's not easy. Sometimes I'm schooling, sometimes it's a baby, and I don't have milk to give I can't breastfeed. I fear one thing. Bringing baby home, my mother sold the cows to bring me to the university, but now it has changed. I haven't brought degree, I've brought a child. And how managing class, managing the baby, sometimes the baby is sick, and bringing the baby to class, that was really struggle for me. So other people in the hospital asked, did you steal the baby? How did you get pregnant? How did you get this baby? I thought about all these, and I brought my son to the village. My mother told me, we were expecting you to bring degree. Now you've brought a son. Now what is this? But our family didn't refuse my son, and he has been there. He has been there with the family until now. And I don't have a wife. My son is at home. The village we communicate, and sometimes I go and visit. And my mother video calls me with my son, and that is how we are managing.
1 year raising a baby alone. Wow. So the mother is missing in the picture. The mother of the baby is missing in the picture. Why?
I don't know how to answer that. But it happened in other relationship. When you meet a girl, it's very beautiful and you're very excited and probably you have a lot of dreams, but things start going very, very downwards. When the mother of my son disappeared, that's all that I can say.
Then that makes me worried. So how on earth can you give birth to a baby, then the mother will not take care of their own baby? For 1 year, you've said that when you go to the hospital, people are shocked. So you used to visit to the hospital when the son was sick. So how did you take care of your son for a year?
when her mother left the baby was 7 months. It was normal for the child to be sick. When the first time I went to hospital, it wasn't a big hospital, it was a small, it was a clinic. He was like, where is the mother? And I lied. The mother is sick too, so I decided to bring the baby to the hospital. But later, I saw it is very suspicious. A human with a little baby and the mother is sick and whatever. Those questions were really suspicious. So when the baby is sick, I went and buy medicine. But so I go and bring the bottle for the medicine and buy the medicine for myself. But later, when corona happened, I feared for my baby, and the baby became sick, and I felt the woman will understand it better. So that was where I made a decision to take the baby back to my village and to my mom.
I lack words to say, because I can imagine the baby is sick. You go to the clinic, but I wonder, why did you not use your friends? Because other friends have babies. So does it mean that you've never opened up to people and told them that I have a baby and this is my condition or situation right now, and I'm in a harder situation when I go to the hospital?
You know, sometimes answering your questions with confidence is very hard. When some girlfriends ask me, taking your baby to the hospital, probably they will assume I've stolen a baby, and that is another interview. Answering those questions is another interview. When the baby is sick and he need to go to hospital, and then you start the interview and questions, that is wasting time. So I take action and my own ideas. Before, I have a cousin who was in the same university with me. At the same time, when I was in class, the cousin can come and care the baby. Sometimes when I'm in class and doing my own research, I'm there and the baby is there. So my cousin sometimes cared for my baby and probably changed the pampers and doing all that. Sometimes the cousin will say the burden is too heavy, so to bring, and he decided told me to bring the baby to someone who doesn't have that burden, so that he can care the baby freely.
It's very shocking. At the same time, it's sad, and I really don't know how to the right way to express myself. But I want to understand something. In this 1 year, you've said that you took care of the baby without people's knowledge. So where were you staying? Were you staying in the hostels, or were you staying outside the class, outside the hostels? Because you say that the baby was 9 months, and you know the baby, when at this stage, they cry too much. Did people suspect? Did people have any suspicions about the baby?
I said I cared for 1 year. My family member knew, but neighbors, friends, all they knew. Before, my mother, the mother of the child, we stayed together, and she used to care the baby until the 7 months, and then things changed. The plans for marriage and the relationship collapsed. That is when she left. Up to now, we've never met. My baby, I haven't really cared for myself alone, but I've really took the cup for one cup for mother and one cup for father, and that is how I've managed. The baby mother was also there and asked, I will go somewhere. I'll go somewhere. I'll come back. I'll go somewhere. I come back. A lot of months, probably 1 year. That is how it ended.
Did you try to convince the mother to take care of the baby at some point?
I tried. We've involved the family, her mother. We've tried. We've talked, but the baby's mother is very reluctant. The baby mother was not ready to have the baby. When probably she can call that an accident. So I think planning, it wasn't a planned baby.
I'm sorry about that, the situation that you were in at that period of time. So, the mother saw you bringing a baby, but she expected you to bring a degree. But the degree you've brought right now, it's a baby. So, the time that you took the baby in the village, so how did you start this conversation before your mother agreed to stay with the baby?
You know, I'm from Homa Bay County. Normally, traveling from Nairobi to Homa Bay, it's like 8 hours. But for me, I took 3 days to reach home. I took 3 days to took home. If you ask me why, first, I brought the baby home direct. I didn't bring the baby directly home. Everybody was there expecting Vincent to finish university. Yes, the same year they were expecting me to bring the degree. The same year I brought the baby. The mother was asking, "It is really soon. It is really soon. You are done with your degree, so that the burden can be eased on me. Now you are bringing me home to the baby." I diverted to my aunt and asked, "Can you take care of my baby?" The aunt asked, "Where is your mom?" The conversation you have with your mom. So that was another reason. I asked another one, can you care for my baby? They asked, where did you get the baby from? So as the saying goes, east or west, home is best. Home is where you solve all the problems. Your family can never reject you. So bringing a burden and problem home, this is where you bring. This is my degree. This is what I brought. My mom was very surprised. In the evening, you've brought the baby. My mom was expecting the baby mama to come, but in the evening there was no person. Are you caring are you carrying the baby for yourself? So that then the next day we started that conversation. I slept, and then the morning we started that conversation, and then the mom accepted. That is the situation. I gave that responsibility to my mom.
Do you know, many times in the village, when you have a problem with the son, you don't discuss with the son alone. They call all the villagers and the elders so that they can discuss. So how was your situation? I want to understand. Did you have this conversation with your mother alone, or with the whole villagers and elders?
The time I arrived home and I started discussing with my mom, my mom didn't even answer. He consulted with others, the aunties, to come and hear this. The good thing, I have support from my brother. My brother, I understood everything, the challenges that really happened, but my uncle believed in the tradition. I've never had a deaf person bringing a baby home to the mother. That was really news. But that is life. My brother is also a lawyer, and he defended me for almost 6 hours. That discussion took for almost 6 hours, and he asked, where is the mother? The that was the conversation. But okay, it all went and it was accepted.
Viewers, you've heard they took 6 hours to just have that discussion and come to a conclusion. So your mother was shocked because she never experienced that because they've never seen a father coming with a child. So we have seen many cases where children are being kidnapped. So, but our viewers, let's hold it there and have a short break and back soon after the short break. Vincent, single father, we are back again. You've seen? You bring a degree in a different way. Single father, that is his name. And that's what he has been using since he had the baby. So we were wondering, Vincent, you don't have a name. You use a single father, but he prefers to use single father. And welcome back, our viewers, and let's continue with our amazing show. Single father. You've said that it was a shock to the community. You know, I love the history of the community, of how we used to grow up. Because I wasn't raised in the village, and I find it very interesting. So kindly tell us the challenges of raising a child as a single parent. Because previously, your parent knew that you are graduating that year, but you decided they want a degree, so you brought them a different degree, which was a baby. So, how did the family trust you to continue to pay your school fees and also to take care of the child as you came back to Nairobi to continue with your education?
That's a good question. When I brought the baby home, things really changed. Things shifted. You know, I've studied university more than 7 years. So the problem was bringing the baby. I was having 2 years remaining to finish the university. When the mother saw the baby, now we sold the cows to take you to university, and now you've brought the baby. For now, that's another burden. Now you need to look for a means on how to finance things. So I decided to hold university for 1 year, and I decided to go and started teaching. I started teaching in Moranga School for the Deaf, and then I moved to Limuru. And then that is how I started to collect money. Every evening, my mom was calling, send money for diapers, send money for food. That was the work. So I decided to collect everything small, and then I went back to university for 1.5 years, and then I finished. My family saw that Vincent was very serious, and it wasn't all the burden for the family, and I'm my own person. My mother sent me money, and after that the decision changed, and now I've decided to be a father with all my responsibilities, and try to live just like a normal person. See, I don't really have another problems. And how to bring the mother to the picture right now, it's not in my mind because it's really difficult. Because my son right now knows that my mother is his mother, and bringing another mother in the picture, it will be hard for the baby to accept. So let us just focus on caring the baby, and that is it.
So you want to tell us that up to now, the baby mother is not in the picture?
We always talk and agree to come to see the son and how he's continuing, but he has never come. So that's it.
This is very confusing. I'm sorry. It's true that being a single parent, you must mature up so fast. So does it mean that when your parents sold the cows to send you to school, does it mean that they wanted you to go back in the village with the certificate, or what does it mean? So did they continue paying the school fees after the baby came in the picture?
Before, I was studying, but now balancing. I told you before, I cared for the baby for 1 year. For now, the baby is there and the class is always there. So balancing that, it was really difficult. So I had to call off and focus on caring the baby. Time I saw my class has really gone, I was stuck with the baby. So I decided to take the baby to the village and go back and focus to my studies. My mother didn't stop. My mother stopped paying for my school fee, so I called off university for another year, and then I went back and finished.
Congratulations, because you've stayed 7 years and you really made sure and you are determined, and lastly you graduated. So you've said that sometimes, and I want you to look at the camera and also advise the youth who are single fathers or single mothers, and also they're going on with their studies. So kindly give them advice, because some of them are stuck, or some of them got pregnant, and the people responsible for their pregnancy left them. So kindly advise them how they can solve this situation. And if you're ready to get pregnant when you are in the university, they must know about the responsibility which are coming or they will soon come. So how will they balance between family and education or studies?
I want to say, this is the last thing I want to say, and advice to you all people. You can't two things at the same time. Be a student and being a father, and at the same time you don't have money, it is really difficult. Also, never hate and deny the responsibility. Many people who are single parents, but more are mothers. Boys always deny the responsibility. Be responsible, be a responsible person. Don't avoid anything, be careful. You cannot do two things at the same time. Now, many university students, they are joining work and they are joining the work field. In the university world, and being in your own and making your own decision, it will affect your own life, it will affect your own decision. And for example, it was really hard to parent, and it has really wasted a lot of money and a lot of years for me to achieve a lot of things. That is an advice to you all people. I'm a living example for you. So my decision, let this not affect you in the same person. That is all that I can say.
Viewers, I have no words to add, but I just want to appreciate all of you for watching the voice show at Science TV, and kindly comment, like, and watch and follow us on our YouTube channel, The Voice Show. And also, if you want to interview, if you want an interview, kindly get in contact with me, and also use my email, which is videlis@sciencemediake. And also, you can text or comment or DM me so that we can book an interview. Bye for now.